Hey, everybody. Good morning. This is Roman Polnar coming to you live from Pillar 6 College Planning. It is Wednesday, September 22nd. It is exactly a week um, before the financial aid season opens up and the FAFSA and the CSS become available. And this is our regular financial aid Wednesdays, where I generally answer people's questions or I explore some topic that is getting a lot of attention to help you as college bound families get more money to pay for college and ultimately not only make it more affordable, but hopefully get your kids through college debt free. And so just this past week, I had a number of videos that were out on social media, and one of them got kind of a nasty gram, and it really piqued my interest. So I dug into it a little bit more, and I realized that this person isn't alone in feeling the way that she does. And so I decided to make that the topic of today's Facebook Live or Facebook Wednesdays. So let me share my screen with you really quickly and tell you a little bit about this post. So this was on, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago. You could see some thousand people viewed it, and one of them took particular issue with it. So in this particular video, I talked about the three biggest mistakes that I see families make as they're about to apply for financial aid that lead to loss of money. And these are things that they're doing completely unaware, right? Number one is that they're oversharing with the government the amount of money that they have available for college. That leads to loss of some financial aid. The second thing I see people do is they overreport the value of their savings and their assets and their investments, which also leads to loss of financial aid. And then number three, waiting too long and doing things in a bit of a last minute that also leads to loss of financial aid. And they said that, look, if you just do these three things, if you just prepare and organize your finances in the most financial aid friendly way, then you submit the FAFSA correctly and on time, you will absolutely get more financial aid. Well, this particular person disagreed with this comment right there. Actually, let me make it a little bit larger, might make it easier for you to see. But this comment basically says, what a BS. If you're in the middle class making decent money, you're going to get nothing. Doesn't matter what you do on the FAFSA. What do you mean, quote unquote, overreporting? Once again, you honestly pay your taxes, make good money, you get no financial help. And there were two equally unhappy people that you could see that gave her a thumbs up. And, it's funny. One of my team members reached out and said, should we remove this comment? And I said, absolutely not. I mean, this person has a legitimate reason for being upset. Is she right? Well, I don't know. What do you think? Are mid income families totally screwed? Pardon the technical term there. But if you think about it, the financial aid system is designed to help the majority of people afford college. And if mid income families are feeling like this person here, is this true? Are most people in this country totally screwed when it comes to financial aid? Well, let me give you a bit of a lawyer answer. Sorry, lawyers. I love you all. There's nothing against you, but this is the most common answer I get when I talk to a lawyer is it depends. Well, what does it depend on? Because in this case, it's true. Because if you do nothing, like if you just kind of go with the flow and do what everybody else does, unfortunately, it's game over before you even start. And yes, you are going to be equally frustrated, like our upset friend here that commented on my post, because our system is set up to sort of, I'm failing to find the right word. I should say it's not set up to help you. It's not set up to help colleges either, but it's just not very intuitive. It's complex and it doesn't prompt people. So if you do nothing, you're bound to make some mistakes and fall into the same traps like this person clearly fell into, and she's pretty upset. But if you take a little bit of time to learn how the system works and do the right things, I guarantee it, you're going to find more money to pay for college and you're going to be far happier, unlike our grumpy friend here. Now, I'm on record. I guarantee that if you do these things, you will be able to find more money. And it's really only about these two most important things. It's all about where you look for money and what you do to get it. So, if you're a parent of a junior or a senior, in high school right now and you're about to submit these financial aid forms, this is going to be of most value to you because the things that you have to do start right now. If you have a younger student right now, this is all going to be helpful as well. It's just not going to be as actionable for you because, well, you don't have to do anything just yet. But if you've got a high school senior, there's no time to wait because what, in 8 days or so, the financial aid season is going to begin. And like I said earlier, 18 million people are going to go looking for financial aid, and you want to be among the first in line. So, what I've done is put together a little bit of a presentation to help you do the right things. If you're the middle class family and if you want money to pay for college. So, stay tuned if that's you. And one quick shameless plug here. If you have questions or if you want some help with the FAFSA, go to our course called FAFSAKit.com. We just launched it earlier this week, and it's designed for families that are about to submit all of their financial aid forms in helping them avoid making the most common mistakes, falling into the most common traps, so you can get more money to pay for college. All right, well, commercial break's over. Let's get into it. So, we just talked about that. It all depends on where you look and what you do to get that money. There are three biggest areas of financial aid that a lot of families don't realize are there because most people think that sort of financial aid is just this one big system, and it's not. And that's one of the reasons why people who don't know which area to go to for themselves end up getting frustrated because they can't find the money that they need. So these are the three biggest areas of financial aid. The first one by far is need based financial aid. Most of this money comes from both the government as well as colleges to help families that have a financial need affording college. The second area is in merit based financial aid. This has nothing to do with your finances. And it's somewhat of a separate system because most of this money is being given out directly by colleges that are making um, their own private kind of endowment money available to families that have kids that they want to recruit. Now, there's a big misconception among families here that they think their kid has to be a rocket scientist or a star athlete, bound for the Olympics, or the president of their senior class in order to get merit based financial aid, and that's not the case. A lot of colleges will give money to really just good but average students because they're looking to kind of balance out their incoming freshman class. And so sometimes they want more boys, sometimes they want more girls, sometimes they want kids from the Midwest or the South or the East or the West, and sometimes they want just kids that have certain academic or personal accomplishments, and the money is there. The third area is completely outside of our government based financial system as well as college based financial system. It's this outside private world of scholarships. And these are scholarships from, organizations, from nonprofits, sometimes from for-profit corporations or from, wealthy individuals that have set up private foundations to help kids in some very, very specific demographic or a very specific skill set or very specific background get money to pay for college. So they're completely outside. And so the question that I most often get asked is like, well, where do I look? Well, the first thing is it's virtually impossible to get money from all three places because there's something called scholarship displacement. And that's where you need based financial aid. And sometimes merit gets reduced by outside private scholarships that your kid might get. And the second thing you need to know is that none of these things are automatic. Like, you don't just, apply to college and then just somehow expect that they're going to give you money. They don't. And that's why people get so frustrated and so upset with this entire system. And I'm not surprised, or I would guess that the person that made that comment on my Facebook post is probably one that has gone through this process and was really frustrated with the outcome. But if you spend a little bit of time and effort and direct it into the right place in the right area, you will find money. But the key is knowing where you should be looking for money and then what are you going to do to get it? Because each one of those three things or three places require that you do things a little bit differently. So where do you look? And I highlight you because whoever's watching this, you're all different. You're all unique. You have different financial situations. You have different kids. You have different colleges that your student is going to be applying to. So, where should you look? Now, I'm going to answer that question, but before I do, I want to let people know that the benefit of watching these live is that you can ask questions. So, if those of you watching have a question, drop it in the comments right now. I'm going to keep an eye out and I'll do my best to answer your question. But if you're watching the replay, feel free to still put in your questions or comments because we're going to continue to look at this post. And as your questions come up, we will get back to you because I want this to be helpful for you. I'm doing this entirely for your benefit. I mean, obviously, it helps us become more visible, goes without saying. But my goal in all of this is to help you find more money. So, where do you look? Well, the answer depends almost entirely on do you qualify for financial aid in the first place? And how do you answer this question? Well, before you even apply for financial aid, just know this simple financial aid formula. Look at the cost of college, like any of the colleges on your students list. Subtract from that your expected family contribution, and what you get is the need. So, if the cost of college is higher than your expected family contribution, then you qualify for need based financial aid, and you'll need to do two things to get that money. Number one, you're going to need to lower your expected family contribution by as much as you can in order to increase that amount of financial need that you're eligible for. That's how you get more money. And then the second thing you need to do is actually look for colleges that have good financial aid policies. This is a huge stumbling block because so many families just assume that, if I can lower my expected family contribution, let me go back to this formula. If I can just lower my expected family contribution, I'll increase the amount of financial need, right, that I have. Therefore, as soon as my student gets into college, I'm going to get that money. Well, not necessarily, because not all colleges will give you 100% of the money that you qualify for or the money that you need to pay for college. And so you really need to look at colleges that will actually give you all of the money that you need. And it's really important to look for those colleges in advance. A lot of times parents don't realize this. Their kids certainly don't, right? It's not their fault that that's not what they're aware of. Finances are not their thing yet. They're teenagers. Find me a financially responsible teenager that knows everything. So you look for those colleges. And I've got, by the way, the course that I was talking about, the FAFSAkit.com, it talks about finding those colleges, but I'll do a training on this separately. For now, let's just keep moving. And so if you're going to be eligible for financial aid, the way to maximize the amount of money you're going to get is to focus on these two areas. You focus on need based financial aid and merit based financial aid. And you do that by looking at colleges that will give you as much of that money as possible. So look for schools that will give you 100% of need based financial aid. Look for schools that actually have money in their endowment funds. And then look for schools that give merit based financial awards because together that's going to significantly reduce your out of pocket costs. Now, the person that was pretty upset with my video said, "Well, that's BS. You need an average income family is not going to qualify." That's not true. And the three things that I said, don't overshare with the government. Like, don't overreport what you have. Don't overreport the value of things that you have and the assets that you've got. And if you apply on time, or I should say earlier than the rest of the people, you're going to increase the probability of actually getting all this money because you're going to have time to lower your expected family contribution. Now, what if your expected family contribution is higher than the cost of colleges? Like, let's just say the cost of college is 35 or 40,000 and your expected family contribution is 80,000. You're not going to be expected to pay 80 grand for a $30,000 school. It just means that you're going to have to pay the full price and you will not be eligible for any need-based financial aid. So don't waste any of your time looking for need-based financial aid because you're just not going to qualify for any. It's unfortunate if that's the situation that you're in, but why waste the time? Instead, you do two different things. because the money is there. It's just you got to look at a different place. So, what you need to do is look for colleges that will give a lot of merit based financial aid and make sure that your student is a really good match for this college and will actually qualify for those merit based scholarships. And then the second thing you do is look for private outside scholarships. Like, don't worry about looking at government money. If the government thinks your expected family contribution is really high, then it doesn't think that you need financial aid. Therefore, they're not going to even offer or give you any. So don't waste your time and effort trying to, qualify for need-based financial aid. Just look for private scholarships. I mean, there's literally billions of dollars with a B in private scholarships. The challenge is you got to apply for each one individually, but if that's the area you should focus on, by all means, direct your effort and attention there, and you're going to get far more money in exchange. So that's if your expected family contribution is high. And one thing I will say though, contrary to what our angry friend said, middle income families absolutely qualify for need based financial aid. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. So, you need to be a really high income family or have a lot of savings to disqualify yourself from need based financial aid. But if that's you and you still need help paying for college, these are the two areas that you're going to focus on. So you got to figure out, what is your financial aid plan? How are you going to pay for college? And you got to figure out your profile. Do you qualify for need based financial aid? And if you do, go after need based financial aid, go after merit money. But if you don't, if the government thinks you should pay for college out of pocket, well, then pivot your focus and look at scholarships. Look at colleges that'll give your money just because they want your student, that have nothing to do with your finances. And so I promised to tell you a little bit about the middle income family. So our friend said, if you're a middle income family, you're not going to qualify for anything, has nothing to do, sorry, it doesn't matter what you do on the FAFSA, you're just not going to qualify. Wrong. Look at pewresearchorg. This is the research center that puts out a lot of data, and it defines middle income households as having incomes that range from $48,500 to $145,500. So any family earning less than 48,000 is considered to be below the poverty line or close to it, and any family earning above 145,000 is considered to be a high income family. Well, folks, I can guarantee that virtually all colleges, you will qualify for some amount of need-based financial aid if your income is between $50,000 and $150,000. So, will you qualify for financial aid everywhere if your income is up that kind of upper end of $140,000? Not necessarily. Remember, your expected family contribution is made up of two things. It's made up of your income and your savings. But the income, it counts a lot more towards your expected contribution. And it's usually between 22 or so percent up to 47%. So if you're a $145,000 a year family, it's possible that your expected family contribution is going to be close to $50,000, right? That's what the government thinks that 145 or $150,000 a year income earning family should pay. Doesn't mean you can pay. It doesn't mean you should pay, but that's what the government thinks. So if you're applying to some local in-state college that costs, maybe $30,000, well, you won't qualify for need-based financial aid from that college because your EFC would have been higher than their cost. But what if you're applying to an expensive private college with a sticker price of $80,000? Well, then of course there's going to be a difference, right, between the two, and you will qualify for need-based financial aid from that college. So it's not just about kind of what your income is and just making this, statement that no, you're just not going to qualify for anything. It just depends on the schools that your student is looking at, and it depends on your expected family contribution. So, folks, the one thing that I want to leave you with is I don't want you to feel like you're just stuck because of, what love whatever income you have, because you're not. Um, there's a lot that you can do. You just have to decide where you're going to look And then that will inform you of what things you have to do. So again, if you want to learn more, go to the FAFSAkit.com, and our financial aid course walks families through all of it. I've broken out the entire course in the four main steps that I've used with all of our private coaching clients for the last 10 years. I'm going to share that with you right now. I obviously can't share the whole course because it's, many hours long, and God, I wouldn't want to keep you here that long, but the four steps are the same. So these four steps are going to help you. So grab a pen and paper. Step number one is you want to organize and prepare your finances in the most financial aid friendly way so that you get to lower your expected family contribution, which will then help increase the amount of need based financial aid that you're able to receive. The second step is to look for money. It's to look at colleges that will actually give you all of the money that you qualify for, need, and deserve. This doesn't happen automatically. If you do all of the right things in the first step in organizing and positioning your finances in the most financial aid friendly way, but then you apply to colleges that don't have any money to give you, it's wasted effort. So this is kind of this compounding effect. You got to do the first thing correctly, then you got to do the second thing correctly, which is look for colleges that will give you money, colleges that have need-based financial aid and merit. The third step is to apply for financial aid correctly and on time. And that's where it's really, really important to know, what does the government, or in the FAFSA, actually want you to report on that financial aid form before they calculate your expected family contribution. So you don't want to overshare, right? You don't want to tell them things that they're not asking for, because if you overshare, you're inevitably going to let the government think you have more money to pay for college, and the government's going to assign you a higher EFC number. So don't do that. And the second thing is, make sure that you're not over-reporting the value of those things that you do have to share. So in the course, I teach you how to discount the value of your reportable assets so that you can lower your expected family contribution number. And then the third thing is, you got to submit the FAFSA or the CSS profile forms as quickly as you can after they become available, because there are over 18 million families that will go to fill out the FAFSA looking for money, and every college gets a certain allocation from the government of financial aid dollars. They also have their own money set aside in the endowment funds, and they give that money out to those families that get accepted. And by the time some of the later filing families come in, there might not be any money left over. So it's really important to line yourself up for financial aid as early as you can and get in front of that line so you get all of that money. All right, so now that you've applied correctly and on time, the final step, which is step number 4, and that's the fourth module where we teach families on how to negotiate with colleges for better financial aid awards. And that means two things. Number one, you want to get more money. And number two, you want to get more good money. So in fact, most financial aid awards will include some amount of debt, student loans, parent loans. We don't want those. And just because you're being offered those things doesn't mean you have to accept them. You can come back to the college and ask them to revise your financial aid awards. You just have to ask them in the right way. And that's what we teach you in the class. But to give you a sneak preview, there are three main reasons that you would appeal a financial aid award. And you actually have to have a reason. I mean, you can just come and ask, but the chances of them giving you more money are significantly higher if you give them a reason, right? Same thing. I forgot where the study was done, but it was like, if you are skipping ahead in line, like let's just say you're waiting at a coffee shop when we used to all go to coffee shops, or like waiting in line to like print something in the office when we still had printers in the office. But if people just cut in line, people get upset. But if you cut in line and say, I'm sorry, I really need to get through because, it almost doesn't matter what the because was. You just giving a reason increases the probability people won't be as upset with you. And so when it comes to appealing financial aid packages, you kind of have to have a reason, and a good reason, to incentivize the financial aid office to give you more money. So here are the three. Number one, you might have had a change in your circumstances since you completed the financial aid forms when you applied for financial aid. Like, life happens. And so, assuming that you filled out your financial aid forms in the fall, your student was accepted to college in the spring, well, changes could have happened in those 4, 5, 6 months. And if you don't tell the colleges, well, they won't know. And they're still going to base your financial aid award on whatever you shared with them 4, 5, 6 months earlier. So having a financial change is important and you can let them know. Number two, and it's somewhat related, is special circumstance. That special circumstance might have been there from the very beginning, but financial aid forms don't let you put in, like special circumstance reasons or the things that are beyond just the black and white print on the form. So you kind of have to reach out to the colleges and let them know that there are some special circumstances affecting your ability to pay for college that the financial aid forms just didn't capture. And that's a phenomenal reason to ask colleges for more money. And then the third reason is if you're getting multiple financial aid offers, you can leverage the best financial aid offer to then ask other schools to bring theirs up a bit more to meet the highest award. So that's how you do those three different types of financial aid appeals. And we teach you how to do that. So, 4 steps. We've created a convenient and easy to remember acronym. It is PLAN, PLAN. You prepare, you look for colleges with money, you apply for financial aid in the right way at the right time, and then you negotiate for more and better financial aid awards. All of that is in the kit. If you want it, grab it. If you don't grab it. But this thing is going to help you anyway. So remember, when it comes to looking for financial aid, don't just assume that you're going to be stuck because you're a middle income family. And so I'm going to bring this back up just so you have it. Um, there are things you can do if you're a mid income family to lower your expected family contribution. There are things you can do on the FAFSA to get more money. And there are things you can do to get more financial help by finding the right colleges that will not only give you the need based financial aid, but will also give you merit money. So I hope this is helpful to you. I know we just went over a fair amount of different stuff. But if you're a mid income family and if you've been hearing that you're not going to qualify for need based aid or for financial aid in general, don't believe them. They're not true. There are certainly ways for you to find a lot of money to pay for college. And at the end of the day, what we want you to do is do less work and find more money. And so, whatever you choose, whether you decide to continue learning with us, keep coming back every Wednesday. I'm going to talk more about various financial aid tips to help you find more money to pay for college here, or if you're going to go somewhere else. But please do take some time, understand how our financial aid system works, figure out what your financial strategy is of paying for college. And I guarantee, as long as you know where you should look and the steps you need to take to get that money, you will. And so I wish you all the very best. Good luck. And until the next time we talk, be well. Thanks for watching.